Well, welcome back to the show. Sam Wakefield here. I am stoked to have this guest on today. For all of you watching on YouTube, you get to see us in action. So make sure if you're like and subscribe. Everybody else, go follow the YouTube page. It's growing, so it's pretty cool. But also, so let's get into this guest here a little bit. This is somebody that I've actually followed for a good while. There's a funny backstory we'll tell y'all here in a minute that I didn't even know that I was on this guy's property at one point in time, and it was pretty cool. So I'll tell that story in a few minutes. But my guest today, he is the expert when it comes to ads and marketing. In fact, not just the expert. Some people call him a wizard. So, Wizard of Ads. This is Ryan Chute. He is the you know all of you named the titles, right? This is him. And so Ryan Chute, he is the Wizard of Ads, and I'm so honored to have him as a guest today on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, give us a but before we get into your facts, I've teased the story, right?
Yes.
And it was actually this is the first. It's funny because it's the first time I told Ryan this before we started recording. Years ago, he just happens to be about 45 minutes from where I live and where his location is. And I didn't even know who the guy was. I was not really thinking about anything at that level in the industry at the time. I was just in the field doing sales, right?
Mm.
I'm sales manager here in Austin and top performer at our company. Well, I have a sales call, so I drive an hour to get to where he's at, and my sales appointment is in this neighborhood across the street from his location. But I had, of course, drove an hour, so I had to use the bathroom. I was like, wow, I wonder if they have a gift shop. And so I pull into this place because there's this crazy tower that looks really cool and this almost castle looking or Italian villa style place. So I
Yeah.
pull in and I go in the gift shop and I use the bathroom and I buy a coffee and, grab a couple snacks from the gift shop and then get a cool tour from the person that was there. And I was like, what is this place? And she's like, oh, this is the Wizard of Ads. And so I grabbed a couple brochures and left. And years go by, entering once I close it now, and I started dissociating with people in the different realms. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been to this guy's place. I didn't even know it. And so
Yeah.
that's the kind of the crazy story how we crossed paths and didn't even know we crossed paths years ago.
It's wild.
so but let's so for everybody that's listening, there's a lot of people that so all types of different people listen. We have plenty of people that are technicians and sales and comfort advisors and plenty of owners and lots of other trades too. HVAC is the primary, but of course home services. I mean, with people that listen that do cars, that do irrigation, that do
Mm.
California closets, it doesn't matter. So the cool part is this applies to everybody.
Yeah.
So, give us a little bit of a highlight reel, man. Who are you? How'd you get here? How'd you earn the right to be sitting in this seat to talk to the podcast today? Hit us with all of that, man.
Yeah. Look, I'm super blessed. I run an eight figure agency within the Wizard of Ads. I'm a partner with the whole group now. There's 80 of us
Mm,
now all around the world doing this. About half of our business is in the home service space. The other half lives in retail and car sales and professional services. There's like a variety of different categories that we work in. And I focus in on essential home services. I really kind of zoned in on everything from plumbers, electricians, HVAC technicians, garage doors,
mm-hmm,
the things where a real relational customer relationship is valuable. And for the last 7 years or so, I've been really just working hard in that space to want to learn it and understand it, but also
mm-hmm,
to come up with the strategies that work best for a particularly hard thing to market.
mm-hmm,
You know, home services is not about, it's not like Lululemon pants where you get to, feel good and make your ass look
hmm.
fabulous.
Right.
This is absolutely
I
a
mean, I know
grudge
mine looks
purchase.
great, and when I wear them.
Exactly, right? I mean, that's why I get them. Um, but it's not that way for a hot water tank, right?
Hmm.
And as fabulous as our hot water tanks make our butts look, it's it's really hard to convince people that that matters.
Hmm.
So it's a hard thing to market. And I love that it was a hard thing to market because that means that we have to do something quite different.
Hmm.
It's a bigger average ticket. There's lots of competition. There's all kinds of like factors at play where we need to stand out and not just be different because everyone's different,
Hmm.
right? We need to be distinctive amongst the different. And Wizard of has really earned that um, that position. You know, Roy Williams, the OG Wizard of Ads, like godfather
Hmm.
of Wizard of Ads, built all of these buildings with his beautiful wife Penny, and Chapel Dulcinea, which has 1,100 free weddings a year, and
Hmm.
uh, that tower that you saw is a 16th century Spanish tower that uh, Penny and Marley Porter built together, a famous architect who's uh, really affected most of that campus,
Hmm.
18 acres of not-for-profit training area
Hmm.
for businesses, small businesses learning how to market their companies. And we see a lot of schools come in, pretty much all the schools that you could imagine,
Hmm.
universities and colleges, and all the big companies that you hear, all doing that stuff. So I've been a part of that world for quite a long time, and really just deeply understanding all of the things that stand out from what I grew up learning. I
Hmm.
grew up in retail. I grew up in furniture and car sales, telecommunications, door knocking, um, and it was transactional,
Hmm.
like super transactional. Everything was the grind. Everything was
Yeah.
such hard work, and frankly, I was ambitious, and I was a bit of a goon when it came to running campaigns and strategies and staff. I was caused a lot of friction in business because that's what I learned. Right, you grew up, my family business and. Around other leaders who, act like it's, the Industrial Revolution and we're all working in a factory. And
True.
it, right. And it becomes this transactional thing, this survival thinking.
Hmm.
When I really started to get my head wrapped around what matters, I realized there's a whole universe above me. There's this whole opportunity that I never even realized existed, like most of the people in home services, right? Really good operators with really good intentions, doing really good work, busting their butts, working so hard, grinding it out, paying Google too much money and
Hmm.
paying for transactional stuff too much and too many offers and too much commoditization and too much of that same energy being thrown towards employees and customers. And geez, I just that was a it was a revolutionary moment for me.
Hmm.
It was transformational in so much as I realized when we start to abandon some of those kind of survivalist type thinking
Hmm.
and move into a relational world, the world becomes much more abundant and healthy and prosperous and frankly easier.
Yeah, I love this part of the conversation and where you went with this. And I had a suspicion that this was, a big part of where your head is at and where your mindset is around.
Mm.
And for everybody that's listening, Ryan and I have not had the opportunity to really, discuss any of this beforehand.
Mm.
We've been in the same circles and know of each other, but really kind of meeting for the first time in a podcast, which is always
In a
kind of
podcast.
a weird but fun thing to do. But so much of what we talk about on this show is having the abundance mindset,
Yeah.
not living from the place of scarcity, living from that place that what you focus on you find, and what we really where our energy goes, that is what we attract, right? And we attract
Yeah.
who we are.
Hmm.
And so I love that we've kind of gone down this way a little bit. So unpack that a little bit for us, and how it
Yeah.
applies to to what we're talking about. We're talking about marketing, we're talking about ads and this kind of thing. It seems at first glance kind of this big dichotomy of like, oh, that can't be the same thing, but
Yeah.
it does integrate.
But it's all of the same thing because
Mhm.
look, one of the things that I thought I was going to come into the Wizard of Ads and be a trainer. I was going to go in and I was going to help salespeople sell better. And I had spent a lot of time building up a company out in Australia doing that thing and was incredibly successful at it and thought, oh, let's just repeat that, but do it for myself this time. And I came to realize that what this industry needed was not a pain relief for a symptom, but to resolve the wounds and traumas of the leaders and their mindsets,
Hmm.
so that they could be better leaders. And when
Yeah.
we have better leaders, we reduce friction. We reduce friction in our culture. We reduce friction in our buying experience. And the best buying experiences and cultures are the best brands
Hmm.
because we've got lots of good stuff to talk about.
Right.
Uh,
Absolutely.
as as a guy who's not coming from a copywriting creative standpoint with all of the abstract thoughts and genius that comes with creative minds, I come from a very structural operational sales, um, analytic standpoint, and and I can piece the two things together and beautifully attach the art that is essential for a brand to the science that is critical for
Hmm.
success.
Hmm.
And all of that combined together is chaos. And most people think that chaos is chaotic, it is random, when in fact chaos is beyond comprehension. And that's proven with the Mandelbrot set. This is a mathematical formula that teaches you about fractals.
Hmm.
Now, if you go onto YouTube and you go fractal zoom, you're going to go and find some really cool pictures
Yeah.
of a fractal. And a fractal is basically just a thing that kind of looks like paisley. And you zoom in on it, and you'll start to see that it is incredibly complex, but
Hmm.
also repetitious.
Yeah. The patterns start to repeat, right?
Exactly. And when we start to realize that that is communication, and that communication is associated and attached to, inextricably, to the true laws of nature and physics and biology and psychology and sociology and all of these multiple disciplines, what we realize is the thing that we're trying to teach people in training is the same thing that the same mechanisms and tools we have to use to advertise to them:
Hmm.
repetition, frequency, a strong message, a singular message instead of a broken message,
Hmm.
speaking to one person, not to a whole bunch of different
Right.
people. To resonate more.
Hmm.
And then we get into some crazy, weird conversations at the Wizard Academy about things like resonance and vibration and frequency and all
Right.
of the things on how it affects us positively and negatively. And
Hmm.
then I meet my now friend Lisa Nichols, who was in The Secret,
Hmm.
the movie and the breakout book, and then has gone on to be a 10-time best-selling author with people like Jack Canfield
Hmm.
and a whole bunch of others, who
Sure.
talks exactly about this abundant mindset, this law of attraction, not the
Hmm.
woo-woo nonsense, but the actual kind of science and energy of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And she's lived that life. Um, sh and weirdly enough, her stories, which are all of our stories in different ways,
Hmm.
are the same things that we tell in our brand,
Hmm.
which is one of the most unexpected things for me. When I first got to the Wizard Partner Group in 2017 as an official partner, there was I thought I was going to come in and just like, here's how we make deals and make offers and, build a
Hmm.
thing and, do all this stuff. And it's like, no, 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 forget about all that nonsense. You're getting distracted with stepping over $100 bills to pick up $5 bills.
Right.
And it was revolutionary
Hmm.
because you start to realize what people actually pay for,
Hmm.
and there's nothing there to touch. It's not
Right.
tangible,
Yeah.
right? Um,
This is so good, so good.
yeah.
It's what for everybody that's been listening to the show for a while, this is uh, the same thing said a different way because we talk so much about how, it doesn't matter what the thing is. It could
Mhm.
be, an HVAC system, it could be a water heater, it can be a garage. It doesn't matter the thing. There's two
Yeah.
things people buy. Number one is the transfer of enthusiasm. And that's proven by anytime somebody brand new steps onto a sales team and they sell everything at first.
Mhm.
But the more that they learn, their sales go down. Why is that? Because now they stop just selling from their excitement about what they're doing and they
Yeah.
start trying to give details. So that's step one. The other thing that people buy is has nothing to do with the thing or the service, is everything to do with how is my life going to be different once I have it. So you're excited about it, and how's my life going to change?
Yeah.
Period. Hard stop. That's it. That's what people want. And
Yeah,
how do we,
yeah,
that
you're
so
right.
this is so cool that it's like we have the same message here
Yeah.
because understanding those dynamics.
Well, here's what I've come to learn in life. An incredible amount of people out in the universe, including myself, are putting things into the world,
Hmm.
and a whole bunch of them are nonsense to fit their own narratives,
Right.
uh, like what a mission statement is, and all this stuff, core beliefs and values, and what that actually means. And I'm like the average 4-year old who asks 437 questions a day, right? I just really want to know why. So, and I just keep going down that rabbit hole. I have attention deficit, so I'm really good at hyperfixation.
Hmm.
And what it boils down to is that the human brain is designed to forget, for one.
Hmm.
The human brain is designed to cope for another, right? And the human brain is designed to look for negativity 4 times out of 5 or 80%, or sorry, it
Hmm.
would be what, it'd be 80%?
Hmm.
80% of the time and 20% of the time for reward. And reward is very often to negate the 80%, right? So we're talking about an 80/20 rule here.
Hmm.
These are all laws of nature. We've heard of them, we talk about them. They're talked about because there's truth to that in ways that we can't touch.
Hmm.
So I created Harold the Motivation Penguin. It happened accidentally, and the yin yangs, like
Uh-huh.
the white with the black in it and the black with the white in it. Well, I inverted it, and then I kind of just squished them together, and then I turned the blacks up together, and then it was like, oh, that's a penguin instantly. And and here's why I did is because there's 10 things that matter in motivation, and when we understand the ingredients to motivation, we can make a much more delicious, much more persuasive message
Hmm.
for the person, for that person, right? And
Sure.
everyone's recipe is different, right? Some people
Hmm.
like chocolate cake, and other people like cheesecake, and other people whatever, right? But there's good and bad in everything, right? And there's stuff
Hmm.
that makes you fat, and there's stuff that makes you doesn't make you fat, and there's stuff that's like got names that you can't understand, and you put that in, and then you got red dye 17, and like there's ingredients, right? So the long and short of it is that there's internal and external motivators, and then there is positive and negative motivators,
Hmm.
but they all lead to one spot: identity.
Hmm.
Identity. Everything positive and negative, external and internal, feeds the identity. And when we recognize that, and that externally pay, praise, and power are the things that feed identity, using dopamine as the primary chemical
Hmm.
molecule for the driver, which means it's diminishing in returns and unsustainable in the
Hmm.
long term, right? But always the thing that creates anticipation, not happiness, just anticipation of happiness. And then we can use those against a person to weaponize fear, shame, and guilt. We've got our negativity, weaponize fear, shame, and guilt coming externally, bosses being a jerk or taking away hours or adding hours or
Hmm.
whatever, right?
Oh, they
All the
changed
stuff.
our commission structure again, right?
Mission structure. They've taken away your dignity. They've embarrassed you in front of the group. They're like stuff, right? All these things. We can get into the weeds of it, but at the end of the
Hmm.
day, that's. I mean, we've already talked about half of them. Then we have the internals,
Hmm.
right? Of identity. I want autonomy. I want mastery, and I want purpose, right? Three biggest, right? So 10 things. If you know as a leader the 10 things that move your people the most, you can go from being a tyrant who's trying to get compliance and only getting defiance
Hmm.
and turn into an altruistic leader who inspires their people to be their best selves because they
Right.
want to be the masters with a purpose, that live an autonomous life, that feel empowered to do the thing because everyone's trying to get identity. And I'm not just talking about employees, Sam. I'm
Hmm.
talking about the customers too, and your kids and your wife and your
Absolutely.
next door neighbor,
Oh, this
right?
is such a good conversation, and I love that we went off on identity. You don't probably don't know this, but it's just only been 2 weeks ago. I did an entire episode on how your thoughts create your belief about yourself. So who do you
Hmm.
think you are? Your belief creates your identity, and your identity then creates your outcomes.
That's so
So the
true.
question is so much not what do I want, because and really the thought I left everybody with is you don't get what you want, you get who you're willing to become.
That's right.
And it like totally marries this because
Mm,
it really is the foundation. So I love that we're extending it out into not only our only internal like
mm,
personal growth, but it's so true because it is by extension, that is the same internal either struggle or striving that every individual has, and their belief and their identity is wrapped up around who they think they are. And if we can speak to that, and okay, are you the type of person that would say buy this thing or do this service or whatever, then we start to speak on that heart level, which is so different than what most people out there do, which is, oh, hey, here's a discount, you should buy it. Well,
Right.
why? Right? So what?
That's right.
Right now it's 0% for 6 months, or right now it's $1,500 off. Who cares? It's not speaking to the heart of anything.
Well, and you've short circuited things. And look, when a leader, when a boss, when an operator who is in charge of a number of people and are feeling frustration, they're not feeling frustration in those people.
Hmm.
They're feeling the frustration of what they're not delivering from themselves
Right.
until they look inward and say, what am I not delivering for these people?
Hmm.
But the problem does not lie with your technician who isn't closing at 30, 40, 50%. The problem lies in you facilitating an environment where he is or she is unable to close at the minimum baseline conversion,
Hmm.
which, by the way, doesn't matter. Those are just made up numbers,
Sure.
right? The things that matter are the actions and behaviors that get them to meet or exceed goals. So
Hmm.
focus on all of this is language, right? Actions and behaviors are language as much as KPIs
Hmm.
are a language, right? And when we start to delineate those, pull them apart and say what really matters here in the realm of communication and motivation, right? All of a sudden, those same things that we hold our people to from an employee standpoint, when we make it right for our employees, for example, when we curate our inventory to be much more easy to purchase,
Hmm.
through a very simple system of purchasing, then we solve that problem for our technician, which solves the problem for our customer,
Hmm.
which allows them to buy more at a higher average ticket, higher profit, faster. Um, and everyone walks away happy and
Hmm.
satiated and feeling a sense of accomplishment. But that came from us, the leader,
Hmm.
right? And then that trickles down because now the guy who just did that feels like a leader, right?
Hmm.
And our job as leaders is to build leaders. And when we surround ourselves with leaders, we're surrounding ourselves with high tides, right? And
Right.
all high tides raise all ships. Well, this is exciting because this is the whole idea of how do we take the idea, the notion of law of attraction and make it real?
Hmm.
And this conversation is exactly that. And what I'm writing in my book called Frictionless is exactly that. These 12 areas where we're causing friction and we just get out of the way of that, reposition it. Sometimes it's just the same thing different, right?
Hmm.
We're just saying it differently. It's the same thing. You get the result that you were struggling for, and it's usually because you're holding back on something. There's some
Hmm.
limiting belief that you're grappling with
Hmm.
that that hasn't released you into abundance,
Hmm.
prosperity, into the thriving mode because it's a withholding,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Oh, this is so good. And one of the things that I think I've learned in the last several years, and I love how that you've dealt frictionless. I absolutely 100% put me on the pre-order list,
Done.
because this sounds like I exactly what the things that I love to study. But one of the things, and it really emphasizes philosophies, and this idea that I got a while back is the more that we grow, the more that we want to be successful, and the more that we strive for things, one of the biggest muscles that most people don't realize, especially at the beginning of their journey until they've had this experience a few times, is the muscle that says no, right? Our ability to say no to things, right? So that friction is like the to remove friction out of our life sometimes means saying no to things that in any other world would be a good thing, or maybe it
Mhm.
works for someone else, or
Yeah.
these types of ideas. It's like, okay, even the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing. So that, or
Yep.
building the skill not just to say yes to take on more, but to become more efficient by saying no to more things. And we talked about the Pareto principle, the 80/20. you know if we can spend 80% of our time and the 20% that moves the needle the most, that's the
Right.
ultimate goal.
I see life, business, any construct like that as a flywheel,
Hmm.
right? The reason why Toyota became one of the most successful car companies in the world by a lot was because their motor has 24% less parts than any other motor in the marketplace in its competitive landscape, which one made it more profitable, made it lighter weight, it made it less friction,
Hmm.
right? It reduced friction, it reduced resistance, it reduced consumption, and it lasted longer,
Hmm.
right? Because of the things that they very purposely didn't put
Yeah,
in.
less parts to break, right?
Less parts to break, right? Less parts to rust, less parts to seize up, less parts to slow and drag things down.
Hmm.
When you add weight, right? So let's just think about this from a law of nature kind of standpoint. Mass, weight, physics, tension. You think about a flywheel that's got 12 ball bearings in it, and those 12 ball bearings represent the people in your lives,
Hmm.
right? If one of those ball bearings in that flywheel and that in that ball bearing spinner gets bigger, now the whole flywheel's off, right? If one of the parts is misfitting or my channel for where the bearings are too wide or not tight, wide enough, all of these things affect your business. Well, this is your business, but it's also your life and it's also all these
Hmm.
other things that you have going on. And when we start to recognize that it's made up of these simple constituent parts, now you can focus on the part and either get the bearings all to size, or you can get the channel widened, or
Hmm.
you can where sand off the rust, right?
Hmm.
Like a rotor on a brake. You can change the brakes. You can add tension. Friction and tension aren't the same things. You
Hmm.
don't need to create friction to make something happen, but you can certainly create tension to make it work better,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And there's a huge difference. Like, for example, if your finance and an accounting department don't have tension, there's a problem. If your
Hmm.
marketing and your sales department don't have tension, there's probably a problem,
Hmm.
right? It's because what I had to learn as a sales guy was was that marketing doesn't say the same things that salespeople say.
Does
And if
not.
you try to make marketing act like a salesperson, your marketing's gonna suck,
Hmm.
right? And an awful lot of precious salespeople, including myself, got all awfully butthurt about things like that. And and it was a humbling moment for me to realize, wow, when we do a good job in both areas
Hmm.
and stay in our lanes, it gets real good.
Oh, I love it. So, but this is a perfect segue too to take us to a couple things that we were, kind of high level wanting to cover. But before we do, unpack that a little bit because I'm not sure if I because of my background, I know I understand what you just said, but I bet there's a lot of people who are like, wait a minute, what do you mean by sales and marketing shouldn't say the same thing?
Mm,
I thought this because a common idea I used to have is that conversation, that language has to be synergistic in a way that what they see on the ad needs to be the same thing the salesperson
mm.
says. And so unpack that for us. Show us the difference there, and then we can kind of dive into the where we were going.
Yeah. Oh, this. Now we're getting really into the weeds of things here, and it is super fun. At the end of the day, advertising's job is to generate a process that the world has called AIDA for a long time. AIDA.
Hmm.
A is attention, getting someone's attention. I'll tell you right now, getting a person's attention is the easiest thing in the world to do, including today's noisy market. Easy
Absolutely.
to get attention. Darn near impossible to hold their interest. AIDA, AIDA, right? To hold their interest is infinitely more difficult. Now, if I get your attention and I have a impulse buy like Lululemon pants or a cool little gadget on Facebook or something like that, I can get you and get you sold right now.
Hmm.
Right, I can push you through that process by impulse. It's a throwaway purchase, right? A
Sure.
sunk cost. D, the decision to work with you, not the action of the close,
Hmm.
right? But the decision that yes, this is the person I'm going to do business with or buy from, right? And then A, which is action in the traditional system. ADA is there for us to understand. Now, if I have a air conditioner, it's going to be 10, 15, 20 years before that person is going to buy my thing from end to end. We don't know when that person enters our sphere of influence.
Hmm.
And that could be at 8 years, it could be at 4, it could be 1. We don't know. But they're all on different paths. We need to talk to them for that whole path.
Right.
This is fundamentally one of the big problems with private equity companies who are really just focused on that 3 to 7 year window of sale,
Hmm.
right? They can't concern themselves with the long game. They have to concern themselves with the today sale, which
Hmm.
means pulling as much revenue to the opportunity right now as possible. I respect the situation, but at the end of the day, it's broken against long purchase cycle strategies.
Right.
Um, and specifically relational purchases.
Hmm.
Now, in roofing, this would be great because it's transactional as heck, right?
Hmm.
There's not
Sure.
really a whole lot of relationship building there. And for those that try to do it, tend to struggle with getting the meat on that. Can it be done? It can. We've done it, but a different mindset has to approach it. I
Sure.
back up. Instead of AIDA, let's look at AIDED, AIDED, right? I'll get the attention, I'll hold the interest for as long as they need the thing or before they need to purchase the thing. And during that interest period, what I'm building is know, like, and trust,
Hmm.
right? They're going to get to know me. Okay, so now I exist, right? And I go from exist to being relevant, and I go
Hmm.
from being relevant to being a contender, right? Because they now like and trust me. Well, how are they going to like me? They're going to like me by the same principles as Tinder, right? I'm looking for a guy who's tall and handsome with a good sense of humor and is
Hmm.
going to do, we need to be a tall and handsome guy, HVAC company, that's going to have a good sense of humor, tell jokes on radio ads,
Hmm.
right? Until such time as we're going to go out on a date,
Right.
right? The date doesn't mean you are closing the deal here. We're going on a date. This is a courtship. This is not a one night stand,
Hmm.
right? So we go out on a date. Maybe we do a maintenance call. Maybe we do a demand service call. Maybe
Hmm.
we get out on a special offer or something, and we go out on a date. We have a cup of coffee. They get to know us and they go, I'd bring this person back into my house, right?
Hmm.
I'd trust them around my kids and my wife. And then we get to do other stuff. Now, sometimes when that's all short-circuited, the relationship is weird, and you usually have to compromise things. And in most cases in our world, it's going to be money to get to close the deal, right? This
Hmm.
is this is the same principles as prostitution.
Okay.
So ultimately we have to prostitute ourselves for marketed leads is what I'm saying is
Sure.
and we're right and we
Yeah.
and that it is a transaction, right?
Absolutely.
So when we start to look at the relational constructs and what relationship are we in? Are we
Hmm.
in a transaction relationship? Are we in a short-term one night stand relationship where we're just trying to get something from each other? Or are we in something where we're going to rely on them and accept you even for the flaws that you have,
Hmm.
right? Like you let them down on service, but you made it up by doing the right thing and so on and so
Sure.
forth.
Yeah.
All of this stuff. Are you going to be Mr. Sales Guy every single time you show up at my maintenance call 2 times a year and just drive me nuts with the surge protector I didn't want to buy in the first place and never want to buy again, right?
Exactly.
For too much money.
Yeah.
So it gets right at all this weird stuff. So what relationship are we in? Decision to be made, and then we engage. So action turns to engagement, right? Here's how we win the hearts of our customers. We do one thing that no one else thinks to do, and we bake it right into our operation, and it's called delight. Now, delight activates a little chemical called oxytocin, the bonding chemical, the
Hmm.
chemical of love, the chemical of loyalty, the chemical of connection, the chemical that's going to have them giving you 5-star reviews and unsolicited referrals.
Hmm.
You don't need a referral program. You need to deliver good service that justifies them giving you a referral,
Right.
right? And you do that operationally. And I struggled with that for 20 years in the businesses I ran. And today I have a number of different ways that we do that. But let's talk about
Hmm.
how Five Guys does it. Five Guys puts a brown paper bag in everyone's hand. Everyone gets the thing. You get a set of French fries. There's some grease on the bag every single time. But when you
Hmm.
pull out those fries, man, there's like a whole other thing of fries down there, right? You're getting a whole bunch of fries. Why? Because Five Guys chucks an extra scoop of fries in. Now, this is well known. They've never announced it. They've never promised it. They never said that that's what they do.
Mm-mm.
But Five Guys also does not advertise now because advertising is the tax you pay for being unremarkable, and Five Guys is
Ooh,
remarkable.
that is quotable. Wow. Say that again. Say that for the people in the back. Pay attention. Write this down, everybody.
Advertising is the tax for being unremarkable.
Ooh, it puts us
And
on the
here's
hook to actually be remarkable, right?
right. And you're not going to be remarkable until you've done something that is markable,
Hmm.
right? So do something that leaves a mark, a positive resonance, a reason why they should come back for more. And it's not just doing your job.
Correct.
Now, here's the secret to that. Everyone can do it, and everyone can do it in their own way, and you can build it into your operation so that it's not going to bleed you out,
Hmm.
right? So Five Guys throws an extra scoop of fries in with everyone. What could you do in your HVAC business, your plumbing business, your electric business, your roofing business, your garage door business? What could you do that you could do consistently every single time that makes them go, well, they never promised to do that. By God, they did it. Wow, that was
Hmm.
fantastic. Right? That they weren't supposed to do that, but they did. Hmm, that's when you win. It
Hmm.
it write a club membership out and write down all the things that you're willing to do for that person. And then find one of the things that you're willing to do for that person that you might not be able to do every single time, but you could do some of the time, but it's a good little one, or you could do a little something extra. For example, you could do a dryer vent clearing, not a cleaning, like clearing, just a quick little 20 minutes with the cheapy thing from Home Depot.
Hmm.
You could do that as part of your thing. It has nothing to do with HVAC, right? It's a dryer vent cleaning, right? You could clean the vent in the bathroom, right?
Hmm.
But you if you promised it and you didn't do it, you're a jerk, right?
Right.
But if you don't promise it and you do it, you're an amazing person.
Yeah. So it's this awesome bonus.
Find the thing that you can do either on a semi-regular or regular basis consistently and deliver it. Hide it in your policy. Do not advertise it. Do not promise it. Do not show it, but do it. And
Mm.
that's how you deliver delight every single time. You've just created an environment where you've instantly bonded with your client chemically
Hmm.
with the chemical oxytocin. Now, you have to tell them that you did it after it's done,
Right.
but you have to throw it away casually as though it's no big
Yeah.
thing,
Oh,
right?
by the way,
Right. Just wanted to let you know. I noticed your bathroom vent. I know it's not connected to your HVAC, but it was a little dusty and stuff, so I just took it down, cleaned it up and stuff while I was here. Um, I noticed that the battery's getting a little bit low in the garage door opener. I just swapped those out for you. I just
mhm,
wanted you to know. Right? How much do I owe you for? No, no, nothing for that. That's silly. No,
yeah,
you 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 get us in when it's something important. That this is just batteries. I had some in my truck. Right?
yeah.
You give them love. You already knew you were doing it. Right? You just give them love. You're just being situationally aware, observant for that thing that you've already pre-planned because you know that it shows up every time you step over the threshold and
Hmm.
it's relevant to your industry, whatever category you're in.
Oh, this is so good. And this is actually such a good springboard into, what I hear a lot of times, especially in the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Mm,
It's this 20-year cycle of all these, roll ups and acquisitions and stuff. Well,
mm,
since 2020, it's been, everybody knows in the trades, this monster roll up, PE groups and private equity and all these different places buying up these companies. So the
absolutely.
question always comes in, oh my gosh, they have an endless supply at the bottomless purse when it comes to spending for, we can't compete with SEO, we can't compete
Mhm,
with the amount of money they can put into marketing dollars. So
mhm.
so how does this carry into that conversation for, the hundreds of thousands of, tens of thousands of contractors across the country that are competing against that? And at the same time, everybody that's with PE Group, listen up, because this is important for you too.
Well, being a Canadian, um, and our prime minister being the unspoken offspring of Fidel Castro, allegedly, uh, we have an affinity towards our good friends over in Cuba, and one of the people that we pay attention to is Che Guevara.
Hmm.
Now, Che Guevara wrote a book called Guerrilla Warfare. I think 60s is when he wrote it. After the Cuban situation and before he died in Bolivia. And he wrote about all of the kind of key tactics that a guerrilla rebel force has to do in comparison to a standing army. And one of the things that you have to do when you're a guerrilla rebel force is you have to get the side on the side of the community. The local community is going to hide you. They're going to feed you. They're going to take care of you. They're going to protect you, and you have to be loved by the community.
Hmm.
Now, most standing armies aren't overly beloved by the locals. Now, they're going to go out and spend some money and kick up the ruckus in the bars and eat the food and all those things, but um, while that has value in it and it's overt and very apparent, the guerrilla rebels are behind the scenes doing things that are collecting resources and building up
Hmm.
um, um, a movement, a feeling, a compulsion to support what's unjust
Hmm.
against the big that's out there. Um, so remember, we're talking about essential home service companies here still.
Hmm.
This is the exact same situation that we're dealing with. You've got to go to ground, you've got to go to grassroots, and you've got to get your membership assigned to you, not by asking them for stuff, but
Hmm.
by giving first. My friend Brian Bushwood is a Wizard of Ads partner and a famously successful magician and content creator on YouTube. Um, has a number of platinum things for being amazing. And he told a story to us once about um, being a busker as a young man, and he was out on the streets and he was trying to talk loud and draw a crowd, and was just repelling people. They were just kind of like walking to give him a wide berth and staying away from him. And he's wondering, why the heck can I get it, people to stir up and come in and I can have a big thing and then they'll all pay me a buck and I'm going to be rich. Well, he's sitting there one day and there's another magician just down the street and he's just quietly sitting there playing with his deck of cards and he's got a little bunny, a real live bunny in a hat in front of him and he's not even paying attention to the bunny or the crowd or anyone. He's just messing around with his cards and invariably either a little kid or a woman shows up and says, can I pet your bunny? And he goes, well, of course, go ahead. And they always pet his bunny. And he goes, you
Hmm.
know what that means, right? That means that you got to pick a card. Huh.
Uh,
Okay. They pick a card and they're doing a trick. Well, you got to remember that card. Hey, you, and you. Can you make sure she remembers that card? Take a look at the card. Make sure. Now he's got four people, right? He's assigned people to the job, right?
right.
Then that crowd draws a crowd, draws a crowd, draws a crowd. He has that and he makes a buck from everyone and he sells his thing. So if we look at this circle,
Hmm.
right? The average home service company says, this is who I am, buy my shit,
Right.
right? I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss. Maybe I
Yeah,
said,
you were
buy
good.
my stuff. Yes, yeah.
I'll just throw the little E on
Right.
this one and we're
Beep,
fine.
beep. Uh, what our magician friend taught us was, here I am, pet my bunny.
Hmm.
Get a little fun for petting my bunny, buy my shit, right?
Yep. Well, the in between there is like pet my bunny, draw a card, collect a crowd. They collect a bigger crowd. Now buy my shit.
Boom. What works better?
Now we have a customer journey.
One's relational, one's transactional.
Hmm.
Transactional, relational. Life, business, and reality is a world of duality, Sam.
Hmm.
It's always going to be a situation of that or this. It's a spectrum. You're not in black or white, but you're somewhere in the gray,
Hmm.
and you have to decide which direction you're going to go. Are you going to go relationally or go transactionally?
Hmm.
That's going to decide and determine whether or not you're going to be successful, profitable, and build a legacy, or whether you're going to grind it out your whole life making a living.
Hmm.
And I do not care if you make a few $1 million selling your business to private equity. That didn't make you a genius, right? Money isn't the definition of success.
Correct.
Happiness, health, and wealth of yourself and the people that you're in charge of,
Hmm.
that you've taken charge of, that you are responsible for,
Right.
which includes your employees, your family, and your community. That is success.
Hmm.
Now, if you make a whole bucket load of money doing it, congratulations. That's
right?
the ice. That's
Yeah,
the icing,
100%. Yeah, that's
right?
the the thicker the icing, the sweeter the cake.
That's it.
But the whole agree with this so much, and it's the foundation of truly everything. One of the things we talk about on here so much, on
Mm.
Close It Now, is work to become someone worth buying from, right?
Yeah.
Work to have a business worth doing business with. And when
Yeah.
we can do that, and that's just kind of a umbrella term, a way to encompass all of this in the same place. But and it has to do with that relationship. It has to do with being that person that is the connector. Even if, say, we build a relationship with somebody in a house, and when because I've lived this, I can speak very directly to it. When they call you back, 6 months, 3 months, a year later, a year and a half later, man, do you know anybody that does chimneys? Do you know anybody that does brickwork? Do you know anybody that does driveways? Something completely unrelated, because they know you're someone worth doing business with. You're going to know other people worth doing business with. When you become that person and you're that connector, whew, that's when you get calls years later. Oh, thank God. I'm so glad you still have this number. I
Yeah.
don't even know what you're doing now,
We
but I
call
hope
that
it's this.
we call that the guy,
Hmm.
right?
Everybody
You
has
want to
their
be
guy.
if you're the guy, you've done it right,
Hmm.
right? And as a practice, as an individual, you can do that. As a practice, you can build that energy. As a business, it becomes much less connected. So
Right.
you have to find ways to maintain the connections. You have to find ways. And what is connection?
Hmm.
But a biological function of dopamine and oxytocin predominantly. Now, I am oversimplifying deeply to demonstrate the point that until we get dopamine and oxytocin right, we don't need to fart around with all the other stuff.
Hmm.
We just don't, right?
100%.
What we need to understand is what is the basic ingredients to make this delicious. And if until we make this delicious, we're wasting our time
Hmm.
with all the other stuff, just
Hmm.
no different than the positive and negative, external and internal um, uh, motivators,
Hmm.
demotivators, and anti-motivators. Fear, shame, and guilt are an internal motivator as much as they're an external motivator. We are motivated, which is why I've coined the term anti-motivation. We are
Hmm.
motivated by negativity, right? Negativity absolutely kicks our butts into action to get
Hmm.
things done. Anticipation, the dopamine, the anticipation chemical, not the happy chemical, the anticipation chemical kicks us into action,
Hmm.
but it doesn't keep us in action. Oxytocin does,
Hmm.
right? So if we're going to have our customers do the same, our employees do the same, ourselves do the same, and our kids to do the same, we got to kick in some of that oxytocin. We got to get them off their butt, but we have to keep them moving when we
Hmm.
do. And how do you do that? By creating a system that manufactures more of the oxytocin, which is internally triggered
Hmm.
motivations, right? The things, the drivers that make people feel satiated, fulfilled, right? Why they feel that way? Because you're shooting oxytocin into their blood,
Hmm.
right? And that's the win. You're doing other stuff. Yes, I'm oversimplifying, but let's just get to the basics right. Do these 10 things right to drive identity,
Hmm.
make everyone feel right with the world and their place in it, no matter what their title. Titles are irrelevant,
Right.
right? The thing that matters is how the person feels, not just with themselves, but with the ones they love the most and within their greater tribes.
Hmm.
And they want to feel that there's a path upwards.
Hmm.
If they don't, they've either got to do something else or they disengage.
Oh, this is so good. I would love to keep this conversation going. We're getting close to running out of time here. Before we do, I would love to tell us a little bit more about what all is it? How do you help the home services companies? Right. Give us a couple things. Take us through some of the services that you offer, and definitely give everybody how to get in touch with you as well. That
Yeah, for
so for
sure.
everybody listening, if you want to know more, you want to learn more about Wizard of Ads and how how Ryan works with companies, definitely dive in. And man, and leave us with one of the things this podcast is known for is just about every single episode, as often as we possibly can, we give everybody something they can implement immediately that will help
Hmm.
move their needle. So I'd love
Hmm.
for you to drop a nugget or two on people of like, that are in that place of like they're figuring this out, or maybe they're already further down the road. But what's
Yeah.
something that could help drive them forward in this thought process and how to structure some of their messaging and just all the different
Hmm.
things or anything that you want to add because
Yeah,
clearly
no,
it's been
absolutely.
we hit a lot of different things and it's all
So many
great.
things. Well, and you know what? A lot of people kind of wondered, they walk away going, what the heck does Ryan actually do? Well, Ryan looks at this from a perspective that stands far outside of the marketing department. David Packard from Hewlett Packard once said, if marketing is far too important to be left to the marketing department.
Hmm.
And it's true because marketing is fundamentally all aspects of communication of who you are. The reputation of your brand is determined by the people that you put in charge in the front lines of it. And that requires you to have a commander's intent that is clear and followed at all times. So if I'm going to leave anyone with anything, I'm going to say to empower your people, figure out how to help people win in a trustworthy and grateful manner, and to decide what that means to you, and then decide what that means to you and what you'll punish yourself with when it doesn't get done.
Hmm.
And you'll have the secret sauce to stand 600 feet above your competition. And that's the first foundational piece that we can put into a brilliant, brilliant brand. It does not need to be three things, it just needs to be one. And
Hmm.
that represents all the other stuff. McDonald's doesn't have to advertise that they sell chicken nuggets every single time they run an ad. They just have to keep on singing da 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 da,
Yep.
right? That's the science and the art that goes along with the anchoring that holds it into place. We know the science, but we also know how to artistically execute on the science. And that's what Wizard of Ads does best. Three big things. One, get the strategy right based on the thinking that goes through my head, right? And the teams that I put together that execute on those strategies.
Hmm.
Collectively, we all train on it. There's brilliant partners across the channels. I'm blessed to have them working across many different clients for me. Uh, the second is that we write the creative that moves people, because if we can't get emotion, we can't build a brand.
Hmm.
All we can do is keep on putting the bricks of brand impression into the back of the brain with no semblance of order,
Hmm.
right? Until we get the mortar of emotion, we can't build the house that is going to be your brand for
Hmm.
long-term profitable activation where people will pay you more for the same thing that you can buy down the street from 100 other people for less,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
And 100 is probably a pretty low number. And the third thing that we do is something that we've been very blessed to do. And that's to buy media nationally in the billions of dollars a year that allows us to get about 27 cents on the dollar
Hmm.
for media buys, which is infinitely pays for us 10 times over. But more importantly, allows the little guy to go up against the private equity giant that has great big deep pockets and willing to outspend you all day on Google, but hasn't got a clue how to
Hmm.
run a brand and is not committed to a long-term strategy. You want to win this game? You want to beat the competitor down the street? We don't spend a lot of time hanging out with private equity guys because we don't fit on a spreadsheet real good,
Right.
right? And for some reason they can't figure out the basic math of what we deliver, and we're
Hmm.
really okay with that.
Hmm.
And we are okay with that because we really like a single operator that's brave enough to make a bold decision that's going to have them stand 600 feet above the crowd,
Hmm.
and then deliver on those promises and care for their employees and their community the way that the essential home services space should run.
Love it. So good, man. Well, how do we get in touch with you? Drop some contact info for us.
Yeah, two easy places: ryanshute.com or Wizard Ryan Shoot on socials.
Wizard Ryan Shoot on socials and one more time, ryanshute.com.
ryanshute.com.
Perfect. If I'll make sure these are in the liner notes, everybody. So don't roll off the road in your drive time university here trying to make a note. But absolutely, thank you so much for being on the show today, man. This has been definitely enlightening as well as it is like valuable because this is a conversation that so many people ask me about. And I mean, I'm a sales, I'm a messaging, I'm all the things. But when it comes to this world of it, that's why we hire experts.
Yeah.
Instead of being we've always heard the term jack of all trades, master of none. That means that you're living the 80% life. You're only mediocre in a lot of things. But who wants to be mediocre, right?
Yeah.
So that's for everybody listening. Find the people that are the specialists in the things that you're weak in and just compress time by hiring a specialist.
Yeah.
And so I'm so grateful that we had the wizard on the show today
Well,
because
I'm
it
grateful for being here. I really appreciate your time. I love your work, and I truly believe that we win this game by serving others and
Mhm.
helping everyone. High tides raise all ships.
100%. 100%. I love it, man. Well, everybody, make sure to go check out Ryan Chute, ryanchute.com. That's RyanChute.com. And then, of course, Wizard Ryan Chute on all the social medias. Go follow him. He does some really, really fun stuff on social. If nothing else, go follow him for the sake of getting ideas and you can see boots in action of these ideas that we talked about today in practical application. So you can, really see, okay, I understand now what he was talking about. This is starting to make sense. So do your homework there also. Follow the experts. Success leaves clues. Do what the experts do to get the results they get. And when you start to adopt those habits into your life, well, amazingly enough, so many of the results start to follow because we
Mhm.
have the same habits and take the same actions. So that is easy way to find success. We just have to be willing to do it. So
Mhm.
remember, everybody, success happens at the speed of implementation. So thanks for being on the show today, Ryan. For everybody out there, you know how we end this. Go be someone worth buying from.